All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast. And something that you are going to be hearing, you've been hearing it, and you are going to be hearing it for the duration of this season until something gets done with Devon Toews. What do the Avalanche do here? It was a question we got on Instagram. We'll give our best guesses. New episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Locked On Avalanche. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in and making this your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. Make sure to follow us on social media, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, X. Follow us on Instagram, Locked On Avalanche over there, as well as Threads. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions, lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And follow us over on our YouTube channel. Subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live. And definitely subscribe to our subtext. Link to that is in the show notes below. Subscribe, chat with Kyle and I one-on-one, and get your questions answered like you will in today's episode, along with some Instagram questions right over there that Kyle is Vanna Whiting once again for us on our YouTube channel. You do that so eloquently, sir.
It's a skill.
Yeah, and you had like the attire that you're wearing, it matches like Vanna White stuff. I mean, it doesn't match. It's on the level of Vanna White stuff.
I do my best. I do my best.
You have a good closet, I have to say. All right, we will get to some of these questions. Always good questions. I think a lot of people are concerned with the Avalanche window closing, so we'll kind of discuss that. We got a really good question on if Mikko Rantanen is the reason why Nathan MacKinnon always looks so good out on the ice. But before we get to anything, we just wanted to follow up on the Kovalenko story because we heard over the weekend he should be signing soon. We didn't know what soon was. Soon was apparently yesterday because he signed a 2-year deal. It's less than 900,000 AAV. Where did it go on cap friendly? $896,250,000 to be exact. So he got a 2-year deal, which in a sense is really just going to be like a 1 year and a few month deal because he's not coming over here until that season in the KHL is over. But you knew it wasn't going to be that much money, and I think it's less about the money and like the term right now than it is like kind of the excitement for this guy, because it's going to be at a pretty fever pitch when he eventually does make his debut over here later in the season.
Yeah, all you keep hearing about is his potential, the similarities between him and Kirill Kaprizov. Like, this is what the Avalanche need. Could you imagine him on the third line? I
or
get
second.
it. Or the second.
Yeah.
Just give him the team at this point. Like,
yeah.
Move over Joe Sakic, Chris McFarland. Just put him as the owner. There's a lot of hype around him. I would have honestly enjoyed a 3-year, like just a little bit more time, because like you mentioned, he's on loan. So you're getting him for a year and a trial period.
Yeah.
And with all this hype, you want a little bit more time because, like you mentioned, it's 896,000 in like 3 Pokemon cards right now.
Yeah,
it's not that much, but when it comes to potential, you don't want to overpay or underpay on just a season.
Well, and then when that's up, he's still restricted. So he'd really have to take off like Kaprizov to really, demand a ton of money after a 1 and 2 or 3 month, showing that he's going to give you. So, but you cross that bridge when you come to it. And I think right now, they're just looking at, hey, we got him for a couple of years under contract under this number. Let's see what he can do. But the expectations are sky high. And if, there's not many Avalanche players who have really come in and just taken an opportunity and run with it, with the exception of guys like Cale Makar, who did that, when he came in the playoffs against Calgary, goal in his first shift, and away he goes. That doesn't happen. I'm not expecting that from Kovalenko, but I think, the expectation from a lot of people, just what he's been doing is it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility to come in and make an impact. That's more of what I want to see. He doesn't need to be the guy who's carrying this team clearly, but I don't want him to be the guy that comes in and he's only getting, 5-6 minutes a night. That might happen in the beginning just to get acclimated, but I want him to be the guy that is putting in something, that they're getting something out of his play. He's just not out there to be a body. So
I like that you mentioned the Cale Makar thing, because that was a lot of hype coming in, and he matched it, and he's been a legend ever since. But we also heard the same hype for Alex Newhook.
Not that you expected that coming in from Alex Newhook, but you expected him to do better than he did.
Yes, you were expecting, look at what he's doing. I can't wait till he joins the Avs. This is exactly what you want.
Yeah.
And then nothing. So now you're on both sides of that. So I could understand both camps, but I'm excited that he's a member of the Avalanche.
Yeah, and it's going to be an exciting time when he does make his debut, whenever that may be. One guy that currently is on the Avs that everybody loves, and that's Devon Toews, and you're just going to be hearing it. I mean, we've talked about it a couple times. It's going to be a talking point, kind of like one of the off the ice type of things that you're going to hear about until it gets settled, and that's his not his current contract, his next contract. This season is the last year on his deal, which is one of the best value contracts in the league. I said when Cale Makar's new contract kicked in and his old contract went away, which was the best value contract in the league, I think unquestionably, you can make the argument that Devon Toews took that title over. So now he's making 4.1. He's going to get a bump, a pretty significant bump after this year. The Avalanche could extend him now. That's still I guess it's still in the realm of possibility if you want to do that and be over the cap for next year before that cap even kicks in, and then make some deals to get underneath the cap, knowing what his number is going to be. There's so many different directions this could go in right now. And we did get a question, Trevor Savage 02, and he just said, should the Avs trade Taser while he's under contract instead of losing him next year? That's the way of sports now, is if you don't feel like you're going to sign a guy, you don't just let him walk. You get something for him in return. Doesn't always happen. And for the Avalanche, I don't know if they do that, because they're in, the winning Stanley Cup business right now. So if you trade a Devon Toews somewhere, like say at the trade deadline, you get worse. And you hinder your chances of going to win that cup. If the season is not going the way that you want it to go, if you're fighting for a playoff spot, maybe you do it then. If you really think that, hey, even if we just scratch and claw to get that last wild card spot, we're scratching and clawing to get that last wild card spot. We don't think we're going to carry it over into the postseason, even though anything can happen in the postseason. It's different in hockey. Then they have to ask themselves that question. Do we make a go for it? I mean, if they're at the top of the standings, they're not going to get rid of him. He is such an integral part of this team, and he will be for going after that cup. And then you just deal with it in the offseason. You try to bring him back, and if you can't, then that's the card you played. And it's kind of similar to a JT Compher thing. Like they could have traded JT Compher, because I kind of feel like deep down they didn't think they were going to be able to sign him.
Yeah.
But they held on to him, made a run for it, and now he's gone. Devon Toews is a little bit bigger fish than JT Compher is, but I think you kind of treat it the same way. What do you think?
I think you'll have a really good idea on what is going to happen with Taser around American Christmas. Because you don't, the conversation around Samuel Girard is the contract, and does he belong because of that contract? It's such a beefy contract. Devon Toews is going to get more than Sammy G.
Sure.
And we the everydayers know when we went through his grade, like he is the prototypical what he provides you can't track on the stat sheet. The leadership, his hockey IQ, it leads to points elsewhere. It leads to pluses on other members of the team, but it's not so much on his stat line. You don't want him to walk away, but I really feel like they hold on to him this season and say, hey, we believe in you and we want you a member of this team. Work with us here. I feel like he deserves 6.5, maybe 7.
I think he'll get 7. He'll want 7 minimum. I think he'll be.
That's where it gets. If he's asking that, that's where the trade deadline it gets very, very loud.
Well, we'll say this: like somewhere else will give him probably in like Cale Makar. No, Cale Makar is making 9. I would not surprise me if there's a team out there that wants to throw that much money at him. Wouldn't surprise me at all. The Avalanche seem to be a team who, when they're renegotiating with their own players, tries to get like the hometown discount sometimes, and it's burned them. Yeah. It's burned them quite a few times recently. Not Nathan. Yeah, right. Nazem Kadri. Nazem Kadri, Grubauer, it did. Darcy Kemper, it did. Like so they try to keep these guys with a little lower number, and those guys say, no, I'm going to go somewhere else and make more. Fine. And you want to say like, oh, Toews would be, maybe he's the guy that does stick around for a little bit lower. But my guess is he's going to want at least 7 from the Avs, at least. And they got to find a way to make that work. Is this the Sammy G death knell? Maybe that's down the road, but it's going to be tough to maneuver all this around and bring back Gabe Landeskog if he's coming back, and his $7 million hitting the books as well. So it's just, it is what it is right now. But as far as the question that he asked, do they trade him? Right now, I'm going to say no. And it would be dependent on how the season goes. But I don't think the Avalanche are going to be one of those teams that, like I said, are scratching and clawing to try to get into a playoff spot. I think they will get there pretty comfortably. And because of that, they're going to feel like, hey, you don't have to be the clear-cut best team in the league to win a Stanley Cup. You just have to be playing well and be comfortable with how you're playing heading into the playoffs. And if the Avs are doing that, they're not going to trade them.
If they're sitting at 3rd and 4th in the Central when around Christmas, New Year's, that conversation might be had.
I mean, it might be had, but you would still hang on to him until the trade deadline in March. You're not going to make that move now. There's no point in doing that in November or December.
It becomes more you can kind of understand. And this isn't like a Brandon Saad situation where you're like, why did we not keep him? It's more of you understand what's about to happen about that time.
Yeah, but look what the Avs have done the past couple years in January and February.
Very valid point.
They turn it up. Yeah. So it's going to be a fascinating watch.
Yeah.
Really going to be a fascinating watch. I think we're in agreement that they're not really going to trade him, but it's do they extend him? And like I said in the beginning, do they extend him the moment they can, or around when they are able to do that, and know that they're heading into the next offseason, they're already going to be over the cap?
Yeah.
And then make deals? It's kind of counterproductive in how the Avalanche do business. They're not going to go way over the cap, and then they're not going to do like Tampa Bay and then sign these guys and then make all these moves to get under the cap.
Yeah.
That would be the opposite of how they normally do business, because they normally just get under the cap and then start signing guys till they go up to where they are.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like
Colorado, they put a team together. They don't sculpt a team out of a mass of money, and they just shade away to get under the cap. They put a team together and make it work.
Go up to the cap. Right.
Yep.
Right. So would they do the opposite? We'll have to see. I don't know. All right. More questions to come, including that Miko and Mac question. But first, we're going to hear from our friends over at FanDuel. You can take your first swing at betting Major League Baseball over at FanDuel. You can get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets back, up to $200. That's right. You can bet $20 and you'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. And that $200 you can spend on everything from the money line to the over-under to who you think is going to hit the first home run. What else we got?
First triple play of the season, Atlanta
There
Braves.
you go, man. Yeah. There's triple plays are not like every team gets one.
No.
So
that would have been a nice payout.
Ooh, I wonder if you can bet that over at FanDuel. I'm sure that is a very high number.
Yeah.
But man, if you put some scratch down on triple play, might be fat stacks, my man.
Yeah.
Fat stacks. You can do this all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you can get paid instantly. There's no better place to bet on Major League Baseball than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So sign up today and visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get up to $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel is the official partner of Major League Baseball. All right. A couple questions over by our subtext crowd. And we'll start with our good friend Vargar, who he gave us a multiple choice here, Kyle. So he says, what is more likely? Miko gets 60 goals. Makar gets 100 points. Kovalenko is in the top 6 come playoff time. Or Malinsky ends the season with the 5th most ice time average among defenders. I love that question. That is a thought-provoking question. It's not just throwing out like your basic stuff. Those ones on the bottom there, C and D are I like how he threw those in there. So, I mean, you could say like all of these could happen, but what is the most likely to happen? Let me know if you need them again too.
No, I feel like going into this year, Mikko Rantanen getting 60 is a no-brainer.
No, I don't think you can say getting 60 by anybody is a no-brainer. Connor McDavid included. That is a tough number to achieve, man. That is tough.
I think
60. Ooh.
Cale Makar getting 100, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I don't think it would be this upcoming year. Kovalenko in the top 6, but it's one of those like you're grading on potential, and the Avs wouldn't have made all the moves they have with like Miles Wood, Rijo to bring in a Kovalenko to the top 6. Like there's a lot of names up there.
Okay.
That's a serious. And Malinsky, that one entertained. Like
that's fun.
I've really been thinking about that one. And I just feel like out of all of those that Mikko getting 60 is just the easiest to do.
Really?
I do.
Wow. See, that's where we differ. I just 60 is just so tough. I mean, it doesn't happen a lot. Does not happen a lot in today's game, even though points are thrown all over the place. 60 goals is tough. I am so dead set on Cale Makar getting 100 points this year.
Really?
I have that like in the bank.
Okay.
I just feel like this is a year. Of course, it's all based on health. But I am really confident that he can get that 100-point mark. I think he wants to. I think he wants to get it. I think like like Jack Nicholson and A Few Good Men. I think he wants to say it.
I think it's like Nathan McKinnon when he was chasing 100.
Yeah, and some people think like, oh, they don't care about that. They care about it.
I do.
Trust me, they care about it. It's not the number one thing on their list, but they want that to happen. And when a defender, where it doesn't happen all that much either, like he's got the opportunity to do it, I think he wants to. Kovalenko in the top 6, I don't think so. I just don't think he's going to have enough, as many games under his belt when he joins to be thrown in the top 6 come playoff time. That's a lot to throw on him. So I don't think that happens. And Malinsky ending the season with the 5th most ice time. I mean, obviously Makar would be above him. Toews would be above him. Byram would be above him. Sammy G would be above him. You got.
It's not going to be Jack Johnson. It's not going
to
be
be Jack Johnson, but you got Manson above him, or maybe yeah. So maybe that's tough because those are 5 guys right there. Is he going to play more than those 5 guys? I can't see it. I can't see it happening. But I can't see him happening playing more than.
We're talking Colorado Avalanche, and injuries come to play. I think it might be one of those by default.
By default, that's how it happens. If it's by default, it's not just based on play because all those guys are going to get a lot of minutes. But he's got to pair up with somebody.
Yeah.
And on that last pairing, if he's playing on the last pairing, does he get few more ice time? I don't know. Good question though.
Yeah.
Very, very good question. So I'm going to say Makar is my answer.
Okay.
Makar is my answer. And you're going with Mikko getting 60.
I just,
wow.
I believe in Mikko.
Here is another question. This is from Tanya. She goes, okay, so I know I'm in the minority in thinking that Mikko makes McKinnon look good and not the other way around. But what I want to know is, what is it about McKinnon that makes everyone think he's the number 1 all-star on the team? Because I just don't see it. I know it's not exactly a question. Well, no, that's a question. But convince me that Nate is better than Mikko. So I kind of want to start this by saying, like, well, they're not that far apart. And when you look at stats and things like that, I mean, well, they are kind of, I say like the stats from last year, they're pretty even on a lot of the metrics. Where McKinnon excelled last year was the 5-on-5.
Mm-hmm.
5-on-5, he was number 1 in the league, and it really wasn't even close for 5-on-5. But Mikko's no slouch, but she's right in a sense where, you know, Nathan McKinnon does get a lot of the notoriety over someone like Mikko, and that I think is because of style of play. Nathan McKinnon is just the bull in the china shop. His speed, speed sells. He that's just fun to watch. That jumps off the screen. A lot of what Mikko just kind of goes about his business. So it's not like, he does like the finer things perfectly, where Nathan McKinnon will make mistakes all game long because he's just sometimes going too fast. But people see that and it's like, here he comes, and you get like, oh, on the edge of your seat, and then maybe he'll screw up and you're like, oh, but that was fun to watch for those 10 seconds. And he'll do that a lot. And then when he does capitalize on those plays, they're just highlight reel plays. So it's a little bit twofold. It's that, and the numbers kind of support both of them for being the top 3 players on this team. And I'll get to some of them here. I brought up kind of like metrics, but I know you're a Mikko guy. You didn't necessarily disagree with her, right?
Not at all. And it's honestly, no, everybody relax. I can hear the keys. Everybody relax.
Mm-hmm.
I do like Mikko more than I do Nathan McKinnon, but last season especially just proved the point that they're basically the same caliber hockey player. Because honestly, like, this is, if you have a screw and you're trying to put it into a piece of wood, you can use a screwdriver. That's Nathan McKinnon. Fine, precise, exactly what you need. Mikko Rantanen is a hammer. I can hammer a screw into a piece of wood. It takes a little more effort, but I can get the job done the exact same way. Mikko is that lumbering, bumbering, like, he gets it done. He's always that first guy on the forecheck. He's always digging pucks out of the corner. He's assisting Cale Makar and Nathan McKinnon. Nathan McKinnon does the highlight things. He's got that hockey crazy. He's a hockey robot. Like, he lives and trains and breathes hockey. Mikko's just like naturally gifted, and he's just like cool, calm, collected, and then he'll blow his top. He's emotional. But they're both the same caliber player. They're both over 100 points last year. Like, both caliber players that you could build a team around.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So,
and
they do the same. They make each other look good in different aspects.
And I think Nathan McKinnon is maybe on a little little bit higher level, is more of a scoring machine than Mikko is. Not to say Mikko's not at all. But when it comes to points per 60, Mikko Rantanen 3.46. That's great. That's great. So that's per 60 minutes he plays, not 60 minutes of a game. Per 60 minutes of when he is on the ice, he's scoring almost 3.5 points a game, or per 60, I should say. That's great. Nathan MacKinnon is at 4.2. That was last year, obviously. So, that's where Nathan MacKinnon, I think, because when he scores, he kind of scores in bunches. However, Mikko's goals per 60 was higher than Nathan MacKinnon. Mikko's at 1.81, while Nathan MacKinnon's at 1.59. So obviously Nathan had a higher assists per 60, which was 2.61 compared to Mikko's 1.65. Then the other thing that Nathan MacKinnon does very well is draw penalties. When you have that much speed, guys are kind of terrified and they will commit stupid penalties. So while his penalty minute differential was a minus 32. So he only had 30 minutes in penalties while he drew 62. You want to know what Mikko's was?
All day long.
What's that?
I said Mikko will create penalties all day long,
and he will take them too. And that series of games where he was just not in his right mind hurt him here, because he was a perfect 0 in penalty minute differential. He drew 62 minutes and he committed 62 minutes.
Insert your Thanos meme here.
Yeah, perfectly balanced. So yeah, you want to go, and there's just tons of numbers that you can go through. And again, I'm just going through last year's. But over the course of their careers, I think that's where Nathan MacKinnon, people kind of lean towards it, because Mikko's really come on as of late, especially last year, where Nathan MacKinnon has kind of been that name for a few more years. So if you're in the know and if you're following this team, Mikko's always been there. He hasn't had a chance to put it on display until last year, where Nathan MacKinnon's been putting it on display for a handful of years now, really since back to his rookie season. So is it a little bit unfair? I think in the grand scheme of things, yeah, but they're not that far apart. I don't think they're that far apart. Nathan MacKinnon just makes it look good. And I'll say this: Nathan MacKinnon makes it look good, while Mikko Rantanen makes it look easy.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect way to put it. And Mikko was the highest paid player on the team until this new
until now. Exactly. So. Yep. We got one more from the subtext people. This is an interesting one, Kyle. I'm sorry, I don't have their name. Where is it? Okay, so I said the question won't fit on Instagram. Do you guys think the two underlying problems of growing volleyball and hockey would be the high average cost to play at a competitive level, and that each predominantly have one gender playing more than the other? I thought it was interesting to throw volleyball into this question, so I kind of followed up and I'm like, you got to educate me on the volleyball thing, because the only time I watch it is when the Olympics come around. And they said the cost of a travel team is upwards of $5,000 to $10,000 per season. So yeah, because when you think of volleyball, you don't really think of, like, the equipment's not all that much. It's shorts, t-shirt, sneakers, and a ball. But the travel's where it gets you. For hockey, that's never going away. The cost of hockey is always going to be one of the highest in any sport. And that's just the nature of the beast. For volleyball, I did find it interesting, but
you could spend $5,000 to $10,000 on goalie pads in a season.
Yeah, I've never been a goalie, so I can't imagine how much they cost. It's crazy.
They're extravagant.
But the one thing where I pushed back a little bit was I think hockey, the female. Incorporating females into the game, I think, is at an all-time high right now. And I know and take this for what it's worth, the NHL did a survey, and 4 out of 10 fans of the NHL are women. So it's almost split down the middle. It's 40% to 60% female to male. And you see it in the leagues. They're all getting bought up by one league now, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
But it is like I think the women's game in hockey is definitely growing. I can't speak for volleyball, but for hockey, it's definitely growing.
Yeah, the women's game in hockey is it's very strong.
Mm-hmm.
We'll find out what happens with this new league that's forming. And when it comes to fandom, like honestly, it's one of the more entertaining sports wire to wire. It's not boring. So it's hard to not be entertained by the game and just have a wide demographic when it comes to fans. It's an enjoyable sport. The cost of the sport is just way too much, and it's a problem. And you see teams like the Dallas Stars, and every team's got their program where they're kind of funding hockey equipment and bringing kids up through the ranks and kind of growing and teaching the game that way. But the cost of hockey is always going to be the number one barrier. But I think I don't think this is extravagant to say, but out of all the professional sports, I think women's hockey is the more prevalent one just because of the athletes that the game has.
Yeah, I mean, I think the two, or the one, you got the WNBA, which has been in existence for decades now. So they're obviously, but they have the backing of the NBA, right? So like you'd like to see the NHL step up and back some women's league.
Both had representation in their respected video games this year.
That's true.
The NBA 2K series and the NHL series both had the women represented.
Now, where I would have, replaced hockey with in the question would be for baseball or softball.
Yeah.
I would love a professional softball league.
It's long overdue.
Oh my God. Like that sport, like when the college softball World Series comes on, that is excellent to watch. That's some good baseball right there. So that would be interesting to get something like that going professionally, but for one reason or another, hasn't happened. I don't know. But I thought it was interesting to throw the volleyball in there. So yeah, cool. And the last thing we want to get to is I got a couple questions on the Avs window. A couple people asked it, how many years left in the Avs Cup window? Assuming health, can you see this team winning the Cup within the next 3 years? Should the Avs move some prospects, draft picks to go all in during this 3 to 4 year window? I think Avalanche fans may be panicking a little bit too much and thinking that their window is closing. So, and this kind of goes to we were talking about with the Devon Toews thing and trading him. You don't have to be, and I said it then, you don't have to be the cream of the crop to feel like you can go in for a season to go into the postseason and say like, this is our chance to win it. Like you just got to make it to the playoffs and you have a shot. Talk to the Florida Panthers about that. Right. But the Avalanche, they have a good team. And I think fans maybe got a little bit spoiled with that 1 year that they had when they won the Cup and just plowed through the playoffs. That doesn't happen a lot. That really will go down as one of the better teams of the last 10 years plus. They lost 4 games in the playoffs. Like that, you don't see that. So I don't think this Avalanche window is really closing. I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult, but that doesn't mean they can't do it. So as far as a window, I mean, we've said this how many times, Kyle, when you have Cale Makar, when you have Nathan McKinnon, when you have Mikko Rantanen, who knows what you're going to get with Gabe Landeskog comes back. Now you have Artturi Lehkonen. Like your nucleus will keep this window open for a handful of seasons. I don't know, 5-6 years, maybe more. But it doesn't mean you're going to be the best team in the league every single year heading into the playoffs. You are going to be towards the top, and that's really enough. That really keeps your window open because once these NHL playoffs come around, it's fair game.
It's funny that we are 3 to 4 injuries away last year from talking about back-to-back cups.
Mm-hmm.
And now we are talking about, is the window closing?
Yeah.
After bringing in the crop of talent they did just this offseason. I think the Avs are in a good position. And I think they're going to be in an even better position after this year. And you know what? I think after next year, they're going to be even better positioned. So this Colorado Avalanche thing, I have a great feeling, confident feeling, they're going to be around for quite some time.
Yeah. And the question, health, keeping yourself healthy obviously is always the most important thing. Can they win one in the next 3 or 4 years? They can win this year.
Exactly.
Absolutely can win it in the next 3 or 4 years. Like I said before, it is not going to be easy. You are not going to be you're not going to run away with the division. You're not going to run away with the conference. That usually never happens anyway in hockey.
Yep.
But I'm not concerned about this window kind of drying up for the Avalanche right now. So, although I am sure there are some people who disagree, feel free to comment away because
it's going to be all right.
Yeah. So, having said that, we're going to wrap it up for today. Meeting up, their good friend Jack Bushman from Locked On Chicago Blackhawks. That's where our summer road trip will take us for Friday's episode. So be sure to tune in to that. For this one, thank you for making it your first listen of the day. That's always appreciated. So we will check you guys out on Friday. He is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We'll see you guys on Friday.